A light with you, Stacy, but okay.
Good evening and welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacy Johnson. Joining me tonight is Aguna, the voice of reason, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker, is out today for family concerns, and my cousin Todd. Aguna is laughing already at cousin Todd.
Man. At least he looks halfway decent today. So, hey,
Oh
that's a
my
good start.
gosh. I can't.
Go ahead
So,
with your bad self, Ty.
thank you. A record number of early votes were cast in Georgia today as the election gets underway in this battleground state. Floods, blackouts, and gas shortages in Florida causes a lot of Floridians trouble after both hurricanes, Helene and Milton. Aguna talks the NFL Week 6. So yesterday, was it Indigenous Peoples Day or Columbus Day? We'll ask each one of our contributors. The state split on which to spotlight. We'll tell you which one you should focus on. Vice President Harris releases her medical report drawing contrast with former President Trump. Week 7 in college football, Aguna will talk about that again. Iran has no red line in defending itself, as Iran's foreign minister says, and Israel assures the U.S. it plans to target Iran's military, not oil or nuclear sites, as President Biden's administration tells Israel they must do more to help those in Gaza. And how will Donald Trump's new laws affect you? That and more, if we can fit it in. First up, but before we begin our show, I have a very serious matter I want to talk about. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Stacy Johnson. I'm a born again Christian. I graduated from Cheney University, the first public historic Black college and university in the nation. I pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. At that college, I love sports, I love politics, and I love those subjects because my parents love those subjects. I have uncles who played in the Negro Leagues baseball. We as a family would talk about sports and politics all the time, and that's how Sporlitiks was born. Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. Cousin Todd coined that phrase. When I began the process of putting this show together in 2011, just think, where were you? I want to know where each one of you were in 2011. I recruited many friends who volunteered their time, friends such as John Mitchell, former sports writer for Philadelphia Inquirer, and candidates for political office like Frank Pinto of Dauphin County, Pennsylvania. So I was really shocked when just recently it was brought to my attention that Miss Jamela Hill is coming out with a show called Sporlitiks, which is Sporlitiks without the R. My show's catchphrase is where sports and politics mix and mingle. Miss Hill's catchphrase is sports and politics not only mix, they matter, which is very, very, very similar. And I think all of you know that. I'm just a little Black girl from Philly doing this thing on my own, no backup, trying to make a difference in our community. I don't have iHeartMedia backing me up. I don't have a multi-billion-dollar industry backing me up. I don't have thousands of high paid lawyers on my side. I don't have anything but my contributors and this show that is my dream. It's a dream of informing, educating, enlightening, and entertaining people about sports and politics. I have a fabulous show with diverse contributors, as you can see, made up of Republicans, Democrats, independents, libertarians, men and women of different races and backgrounds, sharing varied opinions of which some might think are extreme, but we look and we sound like America. Ms. Hill, I'm aware that you are Black and a female like me. And when I started this show over a decade ago, there were no other shows mixing sports and politics. I was the first. Since 2011, people have begun to mix sports and politics, including you, and it's okay. But I would have hoped that you would have reached out to me to come together in our endeavors to shine a light on injustices in communities as opposed to using a similar name and catchphrase. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to let my contributors say what it is they want to say about this, starting with Keith.
You know, Stacey, you're kind of moving me to emotion as well with the way you expressed yourself. Of course, I wasn't around back then. I mean, in terms of the show, I just came on. I don't know if you guys remember a few years ago, but 2011, man, I didn't even know that you guys were on that long. Some of the other contributors of this show are the Mavericks who've been around for a long time. But I will say, as a conservative, as a Christian, that I don't know all the details of why or what is going on with that. But I will make this comment. This is what I think is very interesting. That I saw a clip of Miss Jamil or Jamela. I think that's how you pronounce it, Jamel. I saw her on The View. And on The View, I think that was a month ago in September, somewhere around there. But oh no, I'm sorry. It might have been a few years ago. But this was on The View. She said that Trump, she regarded Trump as a racist or a supremacist, a white supremacist. And that's what I wanted to comment on, to say that, call Trump a white supremacist, as many people have done, and have no evidence to back it up. She never claimed or never gave an example of why she called him a white supremacist. That I find is uncalled for. And then when she had a chance to apologize, of course, she backed it up with doubling down and saying that she supported her claim. Why would blacks support a racist or as a white supremacist? I support President Trump. Even some of the people on the show are against me for that. But we're all the same color. It's very interesting. And I am a black man who doesn't regret supporting Trump. So are you going to call me also a white supremacist? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. As was pointed out, Ben Carson, all saying that is he a part of the white supremacists? She tried to clean that up by saying, no, I wasn't referring to him. And I don't refer to the supporters of Trump who are black as white supremacists. Well, that doesn't make sense. If you call him a white supremacist, and if it's true, then why would any black want to support a white supremacist? And the black vote is up quite a percentage compared to back then, even today, for supporting Trump for president. All right, so I'm going to conclude it by saying that is what I want to focus on, because I don't know a lot about her other than that. And I already know that I don't support her. So whatever she did concerning regarding this program, or whatever her intentions were, I have no idea. But I guess they'll have to deal with that legally. Thank you very much, Stacy, for allowing me to express just that part of my statement.
Oh, sorry. I guess it's my turn. So,
Yes, go ahead, Guna.
yeah. So, I'm not going to belabor the point. What Keith just brought up. I'm not going to jump into politics. I will jump in at a personal level. I know, Stacy, we've been on doing this program and doing this for a while. We were on the phone before we came and did the video. So I remember, the transitioning and all the guests that you had and some of the amount of effort and blood, sweat, and tears you put into this. And I know that you, throughout this show, we've grown a lot. We've had kids, we've had, there's all kind of things. So this is not just a show for me; it's a family. It's something that I got involved with, not just because of, the fame or whatever. It's because of the passion around the issues and the fact that we have grown to to appreciate each other's opinions and to kind of have this, sometimes contentious, but to have this space to have a discourse and to kind of yell at each other, but at least talk to each other. So for me, it was a lot more than just, a show to have a show. It was more so an outlet. So all that being said, I know Jamila through acquaintances and things like that. I think she's done a lot in the community as far as activism. I know the controversy around her leaving ESPN. So I would hope that this is an opportunity to at least engage and to have some dialogue around the similar interest that this idea that you've invested so much time and effort into is done the right thing, and right is right. I don't, my perception of her is a little different than Keith's in the sense of, she really speaks to the athletes from giving them a voice, that shut up and dribble, all that stuff. So there's a lot of opportunities here to have a good dialogue around these issues, but it's also fair to say that, I've seen you on the show, Stacey. Even the emotion around the fact that, you lost your mother during COVID, you've gone through surgeries and then you've invested a lot of your time and effort just because this is your dream and your passion. I know the entertainment business can, people, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. There's things that it's a cutthroat business, right? So people, if anything, it shows that you do have a great idea. This is a great platform to express these things, and it needs to be said. We need to have these type of engagement. Even with Keith's views, we need to have some type of space where we can talk to people who we typically don't talk to because we're in our echo chambers. So all that being said, I think, we'll see how this goes, but I do think there's an opportunity to create a conversation. And I would hope that going forward, and again, Stacey, I'm here to support you. I'm here, as you clearly we're committed to this. So I hope going forward that there is a road that makes this right. And whatever right may be, it's in God's hands. I'm a spiritual person. So I think things happen for a reason. And, the road is going to become much clearer in the days ahead. So I look forward to that. But I'm here to support you. And we love you on the show, Stacey. So keep up the good fight and, keep doing what you're doing. And thank you. I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate and to contribute to your passion and your dream, which was Sporlitiks with an R.
Which is.
Well, yeah, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm not saying in the past, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. Thank you, Cousin Todd.
All right. I don't want to slam the child on the hard concrete, but Sporlitiks versus Sporlitiks, girl, really? This is the kind of thing where you remember back in the day when you're getting on the L and there's a chick that looks shady right behind you, and she's standing by the door. Then you sit down, and all of a sudden, she snatches your bamboo earrings and runs. It kind of reminds me of that. But really, I mean, it was that lifting of the R, and then where sports and politics mix and mingle versus for sports and politics not only mix they matter or something like that. Come on. I mean, if I could have put together a show for you, $20,000, and I would have gave you a good show. Because this kind of thing, it's like, and then this is what I don't understand either. You talk about Donald Trump, and so do I, but this is kind of Trump-like. You know how he would hire people and then not pay them. You know, that kind of thievery is what you did was just not cool, and you know better than that. But it just goes to show it was a good idea. Not that Stacey has a monopoly on the idea of sports and politics, bringing them together, but the name alone, and then the catchphrase too. And I want to know from you specifically when you said not only mix, they matter, and your catchphrase. Where did you come up with not only mix? You see, not only mix, they matter. Where did not only mix come from? I'm just curious. Anyway, you know what you did. I don't blame you. It's a good idea. But I wouldn't do that to another black girl. A white girl? Maybe. No, I'm joking. But anyway, call me. Let's talk. Jamil Hill. That's it.
Okay, you're finished, cousin Todd.
Yeah, Jamil, I'm finished. I'm finished with you for now, Jamil. But we need to talk. We need to talk. If I can, and tell iHeart if you want a show for real, you're looking at it. Where sports and politics mix and mingle, where me, Aguna, Steven, who you haven't seen Steven with his crazy self, and Keith and Stacy, that's a show. The show is fire. You can look at any episode. We bring the heat. At least I do. The heat, the looks, the style, anything you want is right here. So, Jamel, I see how you would want to mimic us, but tell iHeart to give us a call, and then we'll call it
All right.
even. Okay, Jamel?
All right, thanks. Let's start with college football. Guna, you want what game did you want to talk about this week?
Yeah, the game I wanted to talk. Well, there's so many great games happening this weekend. But I'm a Carolina Gamecock fan by default, and we took Alabama to the brink. Growing up in Columbia, I root for the Gamecocks. But yeah, they had them against the wall. Better coaching, they would have been able to pull it off, but they almost pulled off the upset of the century out back behind Vanderbilt, right? Imagine if Carolina would have beat Alabama and they would have lost to Vandy one week and Alabama the next. But they fumbled the ball, then they missed the field goal, and it was Carolina the curse the Gamecocks, and they ended up losing. So I mean, again, they took LSU to the brink. They got beat down by Ole Miss. So that's the game I want to highlight now. It's not the best game that happened because that Ohio State and Oregon game was just a great game. And came down to the end. Oregon ended up pulling it off. Little controversy there at the end with the 12 man on the field call and the clock runoff and things like that. But that was also a great game. So now you're starting to see, things take position as far as the playoffs and things like that. So, I really like the playoff format this year. They expanded it to more teams, but now you're also seeing where teams like a Georgia or somebody that may have several losses when it comes, time for the SEC championship games and things like that, they may be able to squeak back in there. So it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. But yeah, the biggest game, I highlighted the Gamecocks, but the big game was Ohio State, Oregon. And it's going to be interesting because they may see each other again, especially, come playoff time. So it's going to be interesting to see, how that plays out.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Keith. Oh, sorry. I was going to ask you guys if you had any comments on college football.
I do. So
here we go.
Now, what were we talking about? The Gamecocks?
Yes, Todd.
Well, I think the Gamecocks have a good shot at winning, but I don't think they will beat the Flyers in the long run.
Todd,
What did he just say?
Stick to fashion and Serena Williams, and I think
What did he just say?
We'll all be better off. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
All right.
You didn't get that one. Keith, you didn't get that.
No one got that, and nobody cares.
Nobody got that, Todd. Stop it.
Oh well.
NFL.
Guna. Eagles.
Yes. All right. Oh my gosh. All right. So, it's very interesting being a Philadelphia Eagles fan, right? When times are good, they're great. When times are bad, they're really bad. And when times are okay, they're still bad, right? So the Eagles went into, they came off a bye. They're going into this game against Cleveland, who by far is an atrocious team. I mean, Watson almost gave up the last game. And so it wasn't like they weren't supposed to win this game, but they still won it in a way that they were up by 10 and a field goal got blocked. And then, so Jalen Hurts had an okay game. He had some really good, strong drives at the end, but it wasn't like this blowout kind of go in there and just beat this team in the dirt kind of thing. So Eagles fans are still upset even though they won. On top of that, now Sirianni's getting a lot of heat because, they basically won the game and they were still chanting fire Nick Sirianni, right? And so he starts mouthing off at the crowd, so he gets into this thing. Now kind of the sports media world and Philly is kind of souring on him. The fans are souring on him because they think he lost the locker room and all kind of things. He had the press conference. He brings his kids in the press conference all the time. He brought it in this time, and all of a sudden they're trying to say he was using them as a shield because of all the controversy at the end of the game and stuff. The bottom line of it is this: Philadelphia is a very temperamental town. We want to win, but we want to win a certain way. And so we are so starved for not only a championship, but a championship dynasty era. Now, by the way, the Eagles since 2000 are one of the most winningest franchises in the NFL. Yes, they only have one Super Bowl. They have 3 appearances, but that's better than a lot of teams around the league. But that's not good enough for the Philadelphia Eagles fans. I'm saying all that to say this. We won the game, so we're 3-2. We got a big game coming up against the Giants next week where Saquon goes back to New York. Jalen Hurts looked okay. He needs to be better. The defense needs to be better. We got some injuries, but we got some people back on the wide receiver with AJ and Smith coming back. So it's one of those times in the Philadelphia Eagles season where it's like, okay, we don't know whether we want to believe in this team or not, because right now we expected blowouts and we're getting this mediocre play at the quarterback position, at the coaching levels, some incompetence there. We're getting some bad luck with missed field goals, blocked field goals. So people don't want to get on a bandwagon and believe because of all this nonsense going on. At the end of the day, it's just a season, guys. All right. We got to win the East first. Washington looks really good. The Commanders look good. I'm okay with where we are right now. I'll see in the next 2 weeks whether or not we're legit or not. If we can rattle off 3 consecutive wins or 4 consecutive wins going into Dallas, I think we'll be fine. All right. We just got to get some confidence and coalesce around the coach. Now, had Sirianni lost to Cleveland, it would have been a whole different story. All right. He didn't beat them the way he should have, but a win is a win. It's hard to win in this league. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But please, Eagles fans, stop calling for them to fire Sirianni. He's going to be around. He took us to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Stop this nonsense.
Well, I don't know about that, because if they want to win, they really need a good coach, and they may need to bring. What is this echo I'm hearing?
That's Keith.
Okay, well, Keith, pipe down. They're talking about the coach. So if in fact they need a new coach, they may need to bring back Maurice Cheeks, and maybe then they'll be able to win a pennant. America first.
Ty, whatever chemicals you are using to perm your beard, you need to look at the label to make sure that's not impacting.
Didn't Todd say to Stephen, say no to drugs?
Yeah, you've been sniffing that, whatever that is, that perm.
And I must say, congratulations to the Detroit Lions. They kicked some cowboy tail. I watched that game. I know that the Detroit Lions, who used to play for the Cowboys, I know he had such satisfaction in blowing them out. And I didn't see Jerry Jones's toupee come off one bit. But, I don't like the Cowgirls. So anybody who beats the Cowgirls is good with me.
It was on his birthday, too. That was Jerry's birthday gift. He got a butt whipping. And the fact that they haven't won at home this whole season, right? They haven't won at home. It doesn't look good for Dallas right now. I mean, they got some key people out, right? They got Michael Parsons is out. D-Law is out. Their back end on the secondary has been looking kind of suspect. But Detroit went in there with a purpose. Going back to the playoff game several years ago, Detroit has had some of the worst luck in going into Dallas and getting a victory. I mean, they get rolled on Thanksgiving, sometimes. I mean, Detroit's had a rough go with things as of late. So to go down there and to dominate the way they did in Jerry's world was pretty good. I felt good because 47-9, that's like a college, blowout. That's, Alabama versus the University of Phoenix type score. So I was with it. But at the same time, they'll probably find their legs when they play the Eagles.
Yeah, of course. All right, let us move on to Indigenous Peoples Day versus Columbus Day. Which do you think we should have celebrated? Take a look at this.
New Jersey, Columbus Day is out and Indigenous Peoples Day is in. Well, maybe.
I actually kind of like that change because, I don't know, it sounds better than Columbus Day. And Columbus didn't really do much.
And what the famed explorer did do has recently been the focus of mounting controversy. Now, amid calls to remove Columbus statues and boycott Columbus Day parades, city leaders here say emails are flooding in from residents fed up with celebrating the man who they say brutalized the Native American people.
Asking to remove Columbus Day from the calendar, replacing it with Indigenous Peoples Day. A lot of the emails went on to all of the atrocities that Christopher Columbus committed.
The pressure prompted a debate this week at the city council over whether to do away with the controversial holiday or rename it in honor of the people who were here first. But opponents of the proposed name change say it's just one more example in a growing trend of political correctness that is stifling American history.
We're trying to revisit history, and we shouldn't be. He did his job, and we can't apply today's values to things that happened yesterday.
We shouldn't try to change history. The facts are the facts.
Andre Domino with the Italian-American One Voice Coalition is pleading with the Glen Rock City Council to make the holiday calendar more inclusive rather than exclusive, just not this day.
There's 364 other days in the year. Why do they have to do it on Columbus Day? It's unfortunate. We have nothing against Indigenous people, and we'll celebrate with them on another day.
The mayor says the debate will continue at the next city council meeting when residents will have a chance to weigh in person. In Glen Rock, New Jersey, Jessica Moore, CBS 2 News.
Okay, let's start with Keith. Do you believe that Indigenous Peoples Day should be separate from Columbus
Well,
Day?
yeah, let it be separate. I think that that gentleman that just spoke on the video, I think was he made a lot of sense. I haven't heard anybody say that, but not just give them a different day, like we do everything else. We have Hispanic, Latino American Heritage Day. We just celebrated the month of Latino heritage, Hispanic heritage here in Los Angeles. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We have all these different days, all these different celebrations of different cultures. America is so doggone diverse, and we have all these cultures. Everybody has their own day. LGBTs, blacks, whites, browns. I don't know of any Asian American Day, but the
Whites,
point is,
whites.
yeah.
What do they? What whites have?
Well, the whites have, let's see, the 4th of July. They have Resurrection Day. They have, well,
Huh?
you call that the Jews.
What do
You see, they have
so
Christmas. They have Christmas. They have all kinds, so we have all of
what
these
the hell
days
are you
that are
talking about, Keith?
celebrated. And I
Those
don't
are
understand
white
why
days?
we have to change, why do we have to remove a historic monument, something that has been taught in our history. And Columbus was truly a part of our history, American history. I don't care what you say he did. You accuse him of all these things that he murdered and just committed genocide against the certain indigenous people. What indigenous people? Who are they? Were they? What kind of Indian tribes were they? Because there were all kinds of Indian and Native American tribes that were here in America, and some were friendly towards America, and some were
Where's
hostile
America?
towards
They lived
America.
there. Of course they were.
So which one are you? Which one are you talking about? Indigenous people? What is that? What does that even mean? Indigenous
Catch
people?
all.
You got people that
Well,
lived here. So
So
that's
go
why.
ahead,
And
Aguna.
also,
Thank you.
yeah, I
let me
mean,
cite.
he's
Let
going
me
on and
cite
on
one
about
more thing.
diversity.
Let me just cite this.
Yeah.
1892, the Supreme Court of the United States. 1892, a court decision. Church of the Holy Trinity versus U.S. It says the court unanimously affirmed that America was indeed founded as a Christian nation, and Columbus was honored for being a part of that. So I don't disagree with that. I agree with that. That we were founded as a Christian nation, and it was thanks to Christopher Columbus who helped set the pace, the foundation.
All
His
right. That being
discovery in
said,
this part
thank
of
you.
America.
So
It
the more we
wasn't
know about
indigenous
it,
people.
first thing,
No indigenous people were
you can't
Christians
find something if it was already there. So what did Columbus do? He came over
and
and
brought
he
Christianity.
colonized. He brought
Yes.
Christianity and
Yes.
he slaughtered a bunch of people in the process. So we need to.
I don't know about that. I don't know how true that is.
Okay,
You
well,
might have
I
done
mean,
it in
it's
gotta let-
pretty.
All right,
You might
come
have
on,
done it in
come on, Aguna.
self-defense.
We're running out of
I
time.
mean,
We don't
he
have much
keeps
time.
talking over here. The bottom line of it is this: as we go through history and we learn more about things, sometimes we need to take a reflection back. Is this guy really worth our to celebrate? Maybe we just need to put a note in a book somewhere and say, yeah, he did this or what. But at the end of the day, we found out that we glorified a lot of bad things. Therefore, we're not going to do it. And again, I mean, we don't celebrate the Nazi regime over there in Germany. We kind of erase it from the history book. We put them in the history book, but there are no statues of Hitler anywhere, right? And you could argue that that's an equivalent because, again, what did he bring? Yeah, he brought Christianity, but he also brought disease. He brought genocide. They colonized, they stole land, they did a lot of things. Yes, you may argue that we benefited from that because the conquest, whatever. But that doesn't mean we need to start celebrating things and put false narratives around what happened. We should tell the truth. Now, my belief is that, yeah, you can celebrate both, right? If you don't want to celebrate Columbus Day, put it on the same day, and you can focus on this aspect of Indigenous People Day, or you can focus on Columbus Day if that's what floats your boat. It reminds me of something that happened in South Carolina decades ago with the Martin Luther King holiday. It was so controversial to have a holiday for Martin Luther King because people thought he was a communist that they didn't want to. For years, they didn't want to to recognize the date, and state workers didn't get that day off. So finally, as part of a compromise, what did they do? They did the King holiday, but they also did a Confederate flag day. They did a Confederate day to kind of, which, I mean, that should tell you something right there. Why does it have to be a Confederate flag day as a compromise for MLK Day? I mean, that's the quiet thing out loud. So yes, there's a lot of diversity in the country. You have different viewpoints. You're not going to accommodate everybody's viewpoint. So just, hey, let's have a holiday. You want to celebrate this way, go ahead. That way, go ahead. But at the end of the day, let's not mistake history to say that, you know, this guy was just some great guy. Yeah, he founded the West Indies or whatever. He discovered the West Indies for the West because they were already there. But he did kill a lot of people in the process.
Might have been in self-defense, and that's okay.
Sure, let's just justify genocide, shall we?
Yeah, that's right.
Cousin Todd.
They
I
were
don't
hostile.
even ask. I don't ask Cousin Todd a question because no matter what I ask him, he's going to give me the answer based on whatever he feels
No,
like saying.
not true. Not true. But let me just say, Keith doesn't know anything about history. Keith, for example, what did Christopher Columbus discover exactly? New York? California? Where? What part of America did he discover?
Well, sir, he discovered the western part of America. That's this side of America.
Where?
The western part of America. Magellan,
yeah,
what are you talking about?
He discovered America. He drove.
So Christopher Columbus was in California?
No, I'm not.
New
I
York?
can't give you the. I won't give you the details in this.
Of
session.
course not, because you don't
Google it.
know the details.
Okay, Todd, don't
All
ask
I
me the
know-
question. You're
all I
supposed to
know is
answer it.
what
We're
I
running out of time.
But I think
All I
Todd
quoted,
is bringing up a good point.
Yeah, he did.
Keith's position by default is whatever upsets with who he considers liberal. So if it's something that he feels that the liberals are behind or against, he's naturally going to gravitate against it because he thinks as a conservative that's his purview to do.
Well,
So
you heard
you
me in
can
the
say,
beginning.
hey, we want Moon Day. If the liberals jump behind Moon Day, he's going to be like, that's anti-America.
But you heard me in the beginning. What did I say? I said, let's add to it. You know, if you have Indigenous Day, celebrate it, but don't take away our history of Columbus Day. That's all I said in the beginning.
Who's taking away? What are you talking about? Who's taking away? What are you talking
Well,
about?
they took it away.
Didn't even get the chance to
They
finish.
didn't take it away. They said, hey, you need to do something else.
No,
Right, because
no,
it's
they took it away. They took it away.
They didn't take it away. But anyway,
Sure.
the statue is still there. It's just a false history. You can't, and these words matter.
So if words matter, why did the Supreme Court come out and say what I said? You know, you can look it up yourself in
The
history.
Supreme Court said you were not human. So
they never said that.
Where was that court ruling? That was in 1862.
Yeah, check it up, everybody.
So there you go. You just
1892.
proved our point. We've learned more about the situation so we can make different decisions
All right,
about it.
I'm going to move on.
The world is a
Todd
different
wants
place
to
than
give
it
his
was in
time to
1862.
That's on him.
1892.
1892. Okay, there. Thank you.
So Todd
At the
wants
end
to
of
give his
Reconstruction, you
money.
want to talk about this? Come on.
Yeah.
So Todd wants to give his time to Keith. Todd, you just did that. We're going to move on.
Okay,
because
we
we're
can
out of
move
time.
on. But the pervert should never even been in the history books. He didn't discover anything. You can't discover a place where people have been living for generations.
Thank you, Todd.
A few hours
all that you are and all that you do.
On the first day of early voting in the 2024 election, Georgia voters have already crushed the record for day one. Again, it's just day one. Huge turnout today, Faith.
You can actually see that turnout right behind us. Some of these lines here, more than 250,000 voters. That is 251,000 have already cast their ballot. And while you might be seeing some crowds like these that we see here, the Secretary of State's office says that they have been moving very quickly. The average check-in time, less than a minute.
11 Alive's Teresa Bowles is right now in Gwinnett County talking to voters tonight. So, Teresa, how are things going where you are tonight? A big turnout there?
Well, Jonathan, when I got here around 11 this morning, there was a line wrapped around the building. Right now, it's about half that size, and voters say it's going much smoother inside. Every voter's got a motivation.
Make sure that I was healthy enough to get out here, get it done. It was cool.
Whether it was today's perfect weather or just to get it over with, like R.D. Lee, Gwinnett County voters tell me they didn't mind the wait.
About 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Some voters tell me they waited up to 50 minutes. Still worth it for Christopher Clements, who was in good spirits at the very end of the line.
There's no time that someone can put on the value of like what they want to see in the world.
Despite the congestion, there wasn't a lack of enthusiasm. If anything, Vanessa Pratt says the more Americans making their voices heard, the better.
Thank you, Lord, because we need to get out and make sure we vote.
And there's still time to vote tonight as the polls close at 7 tonight here in Gwinnett County. But be sure to check your polling websites as every county is different. Live in Lawrenceville, Teresa Bowles, 11 Alive News.
Okay, they've got early voting in the presidential campaign. It's going to be kind of hard in Georgia, Aguna, because I think, didn't they say, the state of Georgia say they're going to count every ballot by hand?
Yeah, so that's where, you know, the interesting thing about the fake electors and how they've gotten like Trump appointed folks into the whole election board process in order to kind of make actually, I think they're still challenging that ruling, by the way, to see whether or not that's even constitutional.
Even legal, yeah.
Even legal to do that, especially at this close to the election. But I do want to say this, you know, the fact that you have, you know, so one of the things you hear all this stuff about polling, national polling, battleground state polling, and how the race is tightening, right? But when you see things like this, where you see early voting, you see a lot of groundswell of early voting, that tends to trend towards the Democrats as far as enthusiasm, as far as turnout. Most Democrats vote early to take advantage of that because of the controversy, whereas most on the right or Republicans tend to do it in person day of election. So you're getting a lot of enthusiasm early on in battleground states, absentee ballots and things like that. That tends to show that, you know, there may be something to, and again, if you look at the ground game of both candidates, you know, you look at Kamala Harris versus Trump, she's raised a lot of money to have a hellified ground game where she can knock on doors, canvass, and actually go out and solicit people's votes, get the enthusiasm going in the places where she needs it. Whereas the Trump campaign, I mean, I can go out over to the Trump campaign office out here in Virginia. There's nobody in there. All they're doing is putting signs in yards and stuff. And so we look at ground game and you take that and look at in the battleground states at the national level. I mean, there's some places out there that she's even campaigning in Iowa because her coffers are so high right now. So this is a very interesting indicator of voter enthusiasm and turnout when you see such a groundswell of you know, early voting going on. So it's going to be interesting. And it's kind of counter to the national media's narrative of this race being so tight, especially if you have folks on the ground, you know, getting people out to vote. I know here in Virginia, you know, I know folks that are driving people to the polls and have just this tremendous amount of enthusiasm and ground game going on here. And then we've been early voting now for a week or so. So it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. But have Georgia doing what it's doing right now and having, I think she's at 250,000 votes, you know, this early in the game, that's pretty significant.
All right. So I want to play this medical record.
House for both candidates are campaigning with just weeks away from the election and both releasing their medical records. Here's Nicole Keelan.
Supporters showed up early at this Coachella ranch, awaiting former President Donald Trump.
I think that there's a lot of closet Trumpers in California.
But well before his desert debut in her home state, Vice President Kamala Harris released her medical records. A letter from her physician stated she was in excellent health and possesses the physical and mental resiliency to serve as president, and only noted a few minor issues, including seasonal allergies and hives.
Today I released my medical records, as has, I believe, every candidate for president of the United States except Donald Trump in this election cycle.
The Trump campaign responded with a statement that described the 78-year-old former president in perfect and excellent health to be commander-in-chief and pointed to previous letters from his doctors. But earlier this year, Trump told CBS News he would make his medical records public.
Oh, sure. I would do that very gladly, sure. If you look at our borders, they're horrible.
Today, the former president courted Latino voters at a Nevada roundtable after vowing a crackdown on migrants who enter the U.S. illegally. The New York Times released its full interview with vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance, in which he repeatedly refused to say if former President Trump lost the 2020 election.
Do you believe he lost the 2020 election?
I think that Donald Trump and I have both raised a number of issues with the 2020 election.
Senator, yes or no?
Okay.
Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
Let me ask you a question.
At a campaign stop in Pennsylvania, he was asked again.
As I said in that interview, and I'm going to say to you right now, I think the election of 2020 had serious problems. You want to call it rigged, call it whatever you want to. It wasn't okay.
Former President Trump heads to Battleground, Arizona Sunday, while Vice President Harris does more outreach with black voters in North Carolina. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Coachella.
Okay, let's talk about the candidates. We're talking about this early voting. Let's talk about the candidates' health. Let's talk about releasing of the medical candidates' medical records, and also talk about what if Donald Trump wins the presidency, how will his new laws affect you? Let's start with Keith.
Can't hear you.
If President Trump is able to initiate the new laws that he's talking about, we're certainly going to have better borders. He's going to clean up the borders, and he's going to initiate what he called, or what we have on record as the Sedition Act. And I guess that was something that also, which one, guys? You can correct me on this. I don't mind standing to be correct, but history, was it? Gosh, who was it that who was it? Aguna, was it that initiated the the act? It was the same act back then to
World War II to corral Japanese Americans into concentration camps. That one,
right? Yeah, exactly, same thing. So I think
same thing
because it's the
American
Sedition Act of 1789. So I think it was 1789.
Okay, thank you, Keith. You did not tell us what it would do specifically for you. Aguna, what will it do?
Wait. You have to come to me before Aguna. Yeah.
Go ahead, Todd.
Yay. Aguna already went.
Okay.
On the one that
this subject.
Well, the one that Aguna was talking about the ground game. There is no ground game for Trump because Trump is not trying to expand his base. He wants all of the radicals and the racists and the dumb people he can get. Now, that's not shade. That's just truth. He likes people without education. He said so. And I'm not. That's not to say that. That every Republican is a racist. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is that all racists are Republican. Anyway, this medical records thing, Trump is not going to submit his medical records. And Trump supporters do not care. And Trump is not going to submit his taxes, and Trump supporters do not care. They're not interested. whether he's senile or whether he can stay in his relative right mind for 4 years, they're not interested. They're just looking for that great white hope. He's not going to do anything for these people. Like you just asked, what is he going to do for you specifically? And these new laws that he's coming up with would only affect people like Keith. Like he said he wants one day where the police just beat head. They just release the police on all these criminals and let them do anything they want to them, which will be a deterrent in the future. That's crazy. So how many people would be affected by that look like Keith? And Keith might say, well, I'm not a criminal. Was Rosa Parks a criminal? So then he's talking about
criminal?
Rosa Parks. Then he's talking about getting the military to go against his own citizens. What in the world is that? That is beyond sick. And Keith, we're not at war with our own citizens. Why would you get the military to fight your own citizens? This is beyond sick. But when you are a Trump supporter, nothing.
Military fights the illegal aliens, not our citizens. Those are criminals.
Wait a minute. He wants the police to fight you, and he wants the military to fight you.
He wants the military to fight the illegal gangs, like the Venezuelan gangs, taking over cities, like Chicago.
Taking over.
Yeah, just ask Chicago. Ask your fellow Chicagoans. Ask your Chicago fellows, your Chicago blacks.
They've never taken
quite a few
over
of them
any
that are on the air.
cities. They've never taken
the
over
El
any
Rukins.
cities. That's nonsense.
The El Rukins wouldn't stand for that. The El Rukins wouldn't stand for that. Or the warlords or the state knights or whoever.
You are missing a lot. You're
Tell
missing
me,
a
what
lot.
channel
Stacey
did
can't
you
play it.
watch? What
Say it
channel
down.
told you that the Mexican cartel are taking over cities? Tell me the
Stacey can't play
station.
it.
What
She can't
station?
play those.
I'm asking you a question. What station
telling you.
told you that the Mexican cartel are taking over United States cities?
I've seen it on videos. I've seen
Oh,
it
that's good.
Oh, so so there was no television station.
You've seen it on videos.
that says, hey,
Oh, I've seen
be
Fox.
careful. Oh,
But you
Fox
don't believe
News-
in Fox, so you
Fox
don't
told you
really
that.
attribute Fox as a newscast broadcast.
Organization.
So do you agree that violent crime has gone down in this country?
No, it's not gone down. It's up.
Absolutely not. No.
That's what the FBI says.
FBI said it's going up, not down.
No,
I've
they
read
Okay,
it.
we're running out of time.
All right, so
business.
Stacey, I don't want
You
to
guys-
lose the point. I don't want to lose the point about the medical records because I think this is very important for the American people, right?
Not
So
really.
just had 2 assassination
You can't
attempts.
say not really.
I mean, what presidents did that in the past? How many presidents?
You had
Every president.
How many presidents in the
How
past?
many presidents have almost been shot? So he just got an attempt on his life. Glass or whatever hit his ear. That you have post-traumatic stress over those things. There needs to be some type of mental evaluation when you go through something traumatic like that. It's important. He's the oldest presidential candidate out there. Remember Joe Biden and how everybody wanted Joe Biden to release medical records and all this stuff like that? Oh, no. Now what's good for the goose ain't good for the gander. Now. And then you heard his rallies where he's just rambling and he's saying stuff and making stuff up and laughing. Look, fit for office. I'm not even talking about all the people that he chose to hire that have come out and said he's not fit for office.
Not fit.
Right? I mean, this is a big deal. And you're talking about the leader of the free world. So let's poo-poo on and say, hey, he doesn't have to do it. The fact, what is he hiding? They all said that Joe Biden was hiding something and he didn't have the mental faculties to do something. Now that she was on the other foot, we don't want to talk about this anymore.
And this boy,
Can you name a president?
Nonsense.
Can you guys name a president since George Washington that was required to do that?
Yes.
Listen, no, they
Bill
just did it because they
Clinton.
want to reassure the American people.
Bill
They want to
Clinton gave
reassure
his
your
medical
voters that,
records.
hey, I'm in good health.
George Bush gave his medical records.
Right. They all do it out of
Okay, I
good
gotta move
faith.
on.
Barack Obama.
Excuse me, I gotta move on. But
Franklin
before I move on,
Roosevelt had
I need
polio.
you to see, before I move
Franklin
on, I
Roosevelt
want you
was
to
in a
see
wheelchair.
a comment from a viewer. It says,
Yeah.
why are all the people like Cousin Todd who sound naive also sound so arrogant? Does ignorance and arrogance always come in a package?
So it's a personal attack. Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Yes, it
maybe
comes in a
he
pack.
doesn't. You're not a fan of Cousin Todd. We get it, but why are you going to attack him personally? You know,
Because
I mean, I know Todd's on the show. He's looking like a black Eskimo with the daggone with the scarf and everything. He's doing it for the glam. Don't attack
He looks like
him
a black
personally.
Muslim, not an
All
Eskimo.
right.
He looks like a Muslim.
All right.
Yeah.
I
what
gotta move
are they
on.
trying to shade my outfit? Is that what they're doing? Talking about
I
arrogance?
just hope you're not catching cold in there, Todd. I mean, you're indoors and you dress like you're in an igloo. Not
It's chilly. It's chilly in here, but I'll take off this.
Oh, now you're trying to flex. Now you're trying to flex, Todd. That's what you're doing? You're flexing?
No, I'm not trying to
All
flex.
right.
What I'm just taking off. This is a shirt. This is not a jacket.
Hurricane Milton along the Gulf Coast last week.
Yeah, this price tag so far, well over $100 billion in damage. You know, many people are still without power right now, and many others are now starting to rebuild.
NBC's Guad Venegas has more from St. Petersburg.
The cleanup and recovery continues almost a week after Hurricane Milton slammed Florida. Now, over the weekend, a lot of the focus was placed on getting the power back for a lot of the affected customers and also distributing gasoline. There's been a gas shortage that especially affected the Tampa Bay area. More than 80% of gas stations were without gas as of Sunday afternoon here in Tampa. The state has opened up distribution centers where people have been lining up to get 10 free gallons of gasoline. That has helped a lot of the drivers that have been able to get to these distribution centers. The governor also said that they are helping some of the gas stations get the fuel that they've been needing. But there's also the issue with power. A lot of the pumps need power in order to be able to operate. As of this morning, the last update indicated that 400,000 customers in Florida remain without power. Now, this is a big improvement compared to the numbers that we saw right after the storm. So we expect more customers to get power as the days go by. And finally, today is the first day when pickup will happen in a lot of the areas that were affected by tornadoes, by the storm surge and the wind. So residents can expect the trash cleanup to begin by a lot of these counties today as the recovery begins and will continue for some time here in Florida. Back to you.
Okay, so let me ask all of you one quick question. It sounds like the federal government has assisted the state and local government in helping clean up after Hurricane Helene and Milton. Why are we hearing that the federal government, like FEMA, is not helping those communities? Let's start with Keith, then Aguna, then Cousin Todd, very quickly.
Well, we're hearing it because from the beginning, it was just a slow action on the federal government's part from the beginning. But I'm sure now, they're trying to get this, trying to catch up with what they had neglected the first part in the beginning of all of this, starting with Hurricane Helen. Starting with Hurricane Helen, that was originally Trump was out there before anybody else, before the FEMA, and so as a result, they are saying all this
misinformation,
trying to catch up with what they are doing. So they're trying to do the right
thank
thing.
you.
There you go.
Aguna.
Yeah, and stuff like this isn't helpful. And they talked about it, it's been debunked. Trump is using a natural disaster as a campaign prop, right? So you hear Keith over here saying how Trump all of a sudden out of the gracious of it was out there faster than FEMA. Like Trump is actually faster than FEMA, who is actually on the ground in there prior to the hurricane making landfall. They don't just wait till the hurricane makes landfall and then go down there. They have things in place, right? So to to spread false narratives like that and flat out lies is not only not useful, it's dangerous. And it just also shows the disingenuous of some of the far right, where you have to use these talking points instead of just saying, hey, let's come together as a country and respond to the storm and help people in need. You want to make it a political talking point. Oh, by the way, a lot of these districts that were impacted by Helene and Milton, those congressmen voted against FEMA funding when it came up in the legislative session. So now you don't want the federal government until you need it. And then when you need it, you want to criticize.
Was against it. And Keith was against funding. Anyway, let me say a couple of things. One thing is what Keith was just spewing was lies. Oh my gosh. Did you say that to
Okay, thank you, Cousin Todd.
What Keith was doing, and I don't think deliberately, he was spewing lies because this is what he heard. And so he was just repeating what he heard, which is dangerous. Donald Trump recognizes when a lot of his followers are, and I say followers because it's like a cult, are dumb, ignorant, and gullible. And this is why he can say, I won the election. It was fraud. Even though the attorney general said, no, I've investigated and there wasn't fraud.
Okay, Todd, we're out of time.
And just give me 1 second. And so people like him will believe it just because Trump said it. And two things I want to say to that person that tried to shade me about ignorance. What am I ignorant about? Ignorance means not knowing. I told you facts. Now my clothes. This is a shirt, not a jacket. And if you can read, can you read?
Yeah. You just proved that guy, whoever that person was, you proved him correct. How arrogant of you, Todd.
So
who said it was a man? We don't know if it was a man or a
woman.
woman.
The person, whatever pronoun, whatever.
But FEMA, speaking about FEMA, Donald Trump was president during the pandemic. And FEMA, there was a proposal that FEMA pay for the funerals of some of the people that died from getting the coronavirus. And these people were poor, had very little money. Donald Trump said, no, do not pay for their funerals. That was rotten to the core. And then when Joe Biden got into office, Joe Biden said, yes, reimburse those people for those funerals.
Okay, thank you. We're
during
out of time.
a pandemic.
We're going to
thought
move on.
FEMA was being used for other things.
FEMA's not used for other things. That's the lie. FEMA is a program strictly
apparently now
for
Israel. It must boost humanitarian aid into Gaza within 30 days or risk weapons funding. As I said, this is just into our newsroom. It is a developing story. We're going to have more for you as it comes in with more information. In the meantime, this is all happening while American troops are now on the ground to help with Israel's defense. Rebecca Castor has more on what U.S. troops will be doing there.
This is the most powerful anti-missile weapon used by the U.S. military, and it's on its way to Israel. It's called the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD, and it can destroy ballistic missiles launched from as close as 93 miles away.
The United States needs to maintain a military and security umbrella in the Middle East because it's a volatile and violent region, and we have interests and allies there.
But to operate the defensive weapon, Israel will need U.S. boots on the ground. The Pentagon says about 100 soldiers are on their way or have already arrived. As the U.S. helps shore up Israel's defenses, Hezbollah is launching more strikes from Lebanon, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is preparing to respond to Iran's large-scale attack earlier this month. The White House is urging Israel not to strike Iran's oil or nuclear facilities. Posting on X, the Prime Minister's office says, "We will listen to the opinions of the United States, but we will make our final decisions based on our national interests."
Israel's going to retaliate in the next couple of days.
But the systems that America is promising, they're not going to get there in a couple of days. They come a couple of weeks later. So I think that Netanyahu is understanding Israel's going to defend itself by itself.
The Pentagon says the THAAD battery will be up and running in the near future, but declined to give specifics on its timeline. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox.
Wow.
Okay. This will be our
We just-
roundtable last discussion. We're out of time.
Yeah.
Let's start with Keith, then Aguna, then Cousin Todd.
Okay. And what is your question?
This
I don't
is
have to
about
ask Cousin Todd or Aguna that.
Well, okay. So
This is
Iran has
But
been building its, huh?
I'll ask a question.
Okay.
I'll just say, what are your comments on
Israel fighting this war. And,
Iran?
Well, Iran
And President Biden's administration requiring or requesting Israel to do more for the people of Gaza.
to protect the innocent
so
people of
here is I'm going
Let
to
me
say
finish,
it this
Cousin
way.
Todd. I can't finish. I can't finish my sentence, Cousin Todd.
Did you finish?
Go
Did you
ahead,
finish?
go ahead.
Take it away,
All right,
Keith.
I'm saying that Iran has been building itself up since Biden has been in office. Trump left office with Iran broke. Iran had nothing. Now Iran is really building itself up, and
How are they
I
broke?
think
They're
that
one of
we
the
need
biggest
to
suppliers of
attack
oil in the world.
Iran in whatever way we can to stop them or to weaken them, and that's what Israel is trying to do. I don't understand, and I want Todd or Aguna to answer this if they will. Please understand, I am ignorant. I'm going to admit to the person I am ignorant of this. I don't understand. Is Gaza a state, an actual country? You know, like for instance, we have the United States, and then we have Canada, and then we have Mexico south of us. So is Gaza a country, an actual state? Because the Biden administration wants us to put more humanitarian relief into Gaza. So who is Gaza under? Who does Gaza? I mean, who represents Gaza? Is it Israel or is it Israel or is it
Thank you.
Palestine?
Don't answer that. Don't
The
answer that. Deal with
Palestinian-
don't answer that right now. Deal with the request of the Biden administration of Israel. Aguna, don't
Ludicrous.
answer
It's a
Keith's
ludicrous
question.
request. It's ridiculous.
It's not ludicrous.
Yeah, to
People don't
help
have time.
save
Listen,
people's
wait,
lives is
wait,
just
Aguna.
ridiculous.
Wait, Aguna. It's not a ludicrous request, Keith. We don't have time, and that wasn't my question. And it takes us off of our objective and our goals, and we don't have time this second. That's all.
That's right, Keith. It's not ludicrous to try to save lives and supply humanitarian aid. I do want to shout out Lockheed Martin Missiles and Fire Control for the THAAD system. So a lot of jobs in Central Florida, are going into creating that system, and it's going to be, even more lucrative to deploy that. Not to say that war is a good thing, but there are some benefits to the military-industrial complex in America when these things are happening, and we can use our technology to defend Israel, which we've always done, right? On the flip side of that, yeah, it is a humanitarian crisis, and Israel is responsible for Gaza. I know Keith was like, is it a country? Or it doesn't matter. Just people are dying, right? And there's some ramifications around dealing with this terrorist organization who pretty much is, embedded in Gaza. But the more you bomb and the more you kill innocent civilians who are under this regime, the more the world is going to turn against you. So you need to be able to speak truth to power and say, hey, we need to resolve this issue, because otherwise, you're trying to prevent Israel from being wiped out, but in the process, you're wiping out a whole group of people. And so it's not inhumane, or it's not anti-Israel to say, hey, look, let's come here and let's come up with an agreement. We should need to come to a compromise, get the hostages out. Also, we need to do something about Hamas. I mean, I know they were elected to run Gaza, but again, they are to very much the extent of a corrupt terrorist organization. So it's hard. It's a very complex issue, and you just can't come in there and say, hey, you know what? Let Israel go carte blanche and just do whatever they want to do, and not have at least some empathy for the humanitarian crisis that's going on there.
Cousin Todd.
Okay. Keith was this thing about what is Gaza and where is it and what difference does it make? What the point is innocent people are being slaughtered. And that is unfair. That's called war crimes. And so you cannot just randomly kill innocent people. And I made this analogy before about a serial killer running into a school, shooting up children, and the law coming in and blowing up the whole school to get this one shooter and killing all the children in the school. You can't do that. So, and what it does is gives America a bad name because you're giving them the weapons to do this, to slaughter these innocent people. And so to keep us from going to war, and then you wonder, why does terrorists come over here? It's because of this kind of thing. You can't supply weapons to a country that is assassinating at random innocent civilians. So, and not only that, it's disrespectful to our president when you are disregarding everything he's telling you not to do. And you're doing it anyway. Oh, we're going to do. And as you said, Keith, stop giving Israel money and weapons. You said that, Keith. You said, let a church organization give them
money.
Okay.
Money, not
All right.
weapons.
Okay, so you don't want them to get money.
Right.
Yeah, let a little church give them the money they need. Do you know how much money the United States gives Israel every year?
No, I don't.
Okay, it's more than what a little church can give them.
No, it's not one church. We have all kinds of organizations giving humanitarian aid to Israel. We give all kinds of. United States supplies it. We have a lot
How
of
many
money.
years can a little church do that? 1 year, 2 years?
Nonprofit organizations give billions of dollars. It's already on record. They do. When you count all of the nonprofit organizations in America, but the federal government is still using tax dollars. You don't want money to go to Israel, so why would you want them to take your money and do it? Okay, simple as that. They can also, we can provide them with the weapons.
You're also buying
the weapons.
influence. If you do private donations, the government, we don't have as much influence over what they're doing. So I mean, part of it is
Maybe
that's been foreign policy for the beginning of this country. I'm surprised you don't know. I'm surprised it's not in any of your.
Yeah, I know it. In fact, you brought up a very good point. That's exactly why we hold them accountable to all these things, trying to delay the war and make the war more difficult for them to fight. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, we're not making it more difficult when we're giving them arms.
Sure.
Okay.
How are we making it more difficult when we're supplying them with the weapons?
Well, like for example, what he just said. No, he's saying they get humanitarian into Gaza, aid into Gaza.
Is that the right thing to do?
Well, it depends because they're holding Gazians, they're holding people hostage, and we're not getting anywhere by throwing, when we throw humanitarian aid to them.
Why not? I mean, that should be part of the negotiation, right?
No, the terrorists take that. The terrorists take it and use it for their benefit, just like the weapons that we
kill
left in
every
Afghanistan.
child in the school. So my analogy about the children in school, blow the whole school up, kill every child in the school, as long as you kill that murderer in the school.
I know Aguna doesn't like to address this because he says that all the weapons we left in Afghanistan when we left those.
We didn't leave. We left a bunch of junk and surplus over there. We left a bunch of junk and surplus. We didn't leave a bunch of weapons. We left a bunch of old trucks and things that were surplus anyway.
Yeah, right.
We still got paid for that.
That's right.
We didn't leave a bunch of tanks. Did we leave a bunch of M1 Abrams?
All right,
we didn't leave any of that. We left a bunch of military surplus.
Israel with our weapons.
Thank you. To our first responders in our communities, you make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do in sacrificing your lives. We are forever indebted to you. On behalf of Aguna, the voice of reason.
I try to be.
Keith, the constitutional conservative.
Read it sometime.
Steven,
Read that thing.
the independent thinker who's off tonight. And my cousin Todd.
That black Eskimo with the Cheeto color scarf.
I'm Stacy Johnson. Let's keep this conversation going on Facebook at Sporlitiks with an R. On TikTok at Sporlitiks.
Was that a read?
No, that's
Honey, I
the
don't
difference
feel
between
red.
us. That's the difference. On YouTube, please like and subscribe to us on YouTube at Sporlitiks. Please like and follow on Instagram. On TikTok, go to sporlitiks.com. On Stephanie Stallworth's The Flow Television Network, go to our Sporlitiks channel. On Twitch, we're at Sporlitiks. So you can find us a lot of places. Just Google. Let's keep that conversation going. We'll see you next week.
Sporlitiks.
We are out
Not
of
to
time.
be confused with Sporlitiks.
Good night.
You know, there's two things I wanted to find out about. I wanted to first find out where,
Is music still playing?
yeah.
Yes.
This R, Sporlitiks, that would be sports because sports is spelled with an R. So the fact that it's Sporlitiks, one might think, hey, what does that mean? Is that sports and politics? Or, yeah, but I can't use the R. Somebody got it. And then the catchphrase.
Not only mix.
Not only mix, but where did you get mix from? You would have to get
All right,
mix
Todd, you already
from,
said that.
hey, I'm talking to Aguna, not you. You're the one that's victimized.
Victims.
That's not funny.
Where does mix come from?
We don't have any. We don't have iHeart behind us. We
Right.
don't have New York Times behind us. We don't have The View behind us. Oh yeah, we should.
And we don't have ESP behind us.
No, it's ESPN.
Oh, I thought it was ESP. Oh well.
ESPN.
Anyway, where did mix come from? If it's not only mix, what if you didn't have mix in your title? How could you say not only mix? That would be like you have to be a thinker to figure that one out.
Oh, Stephen, ask Stephen. Stephen's a thinker.
I mean, imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
No, I don't know about that.
Well, they'll
How do you
find
like-
you, Stacy, when they're looking for her. They'll find you. There you go. That's all you
And
have to say.
who was that called in talking about the arrogance? What are you talking about? Arrogant. I wasn't
That was
arrogant. I was
Nas.
just telling that was
No, they said Todd. Why are all people like cousin Todd?
yes.
See, there it is.
Why are people
sound naive?
Naive. As
So
if anything
sound
about me is
so
naive.
Arrogant.
Yeah.
Does ignorance and arrogance always come in a package?
And there's something as if I'm naive about anything in life. You dumb black
they
loogie.
couldn't be referring to
Why are you getting offended? So there's gonna be we're gonna get
I'm not
trolled. You're gonna
offended.
get trolled, Todd.
No,
You're
no.
such a larger than life character. You're gonna
Thank
get
you.
trolled.
Thank you. That was a joke. I don't care that this person said that. I don't care. That's why I said, can you read?
They couldn't be
That's why I
referring to
did
me
the joke.
because Todd
Right.
and I don't agree. So
It
I'm
was a
not like
joke.
Todd. I'm not
This
like
is-
Aguna or Todd.
This
I'm
is
separate. Hey, you
and-
guys, I just wanted to know one thing, though. Are you guys happy about the marijuana that Harris is talking about black men will be able to benefit from by her
What are you
legalizing?
talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Harris.
So he
Harris,
has a bunch of talking
Harris
points
came out and
that he
said
wants to
she
put
wants
out
to
to the airwaves.
legalize.
This is just one of them.
She wants to legalize marijuana nationally so that black men will have a better
Where
will
did
be
you get that
benefit.
from, Keith? We're
It's
gonna
in the
we're gonna
it's
have
in the
to table
media.
that. We're gonna have
I'll,
to table that till next week until
I'll
you can
send
give
it to
me
you.
a legitimate news source
Well,
because
I didn't
I
say it
haven't
during the
heard that.
And
program.
stop trying to target black men.
I didn't
That
say I didn't say
legalization
it.
of marijuana is going to benefit everybody.
I
There's
didn't
going to be
say
a
it.
whole
I didn't
industry.
say
Why
it
are you
throughout
just
the
trying to
program.
say because it's drugs is black people?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this.
So I
But
didn't
when
say
you,
it. I didn't say it during the program. So I'm just
yeah,
saying to you now, so that
well,
you can. I'll send it to you, Stacey. I always send you stuff.
Okay.
yeah,
I
but
know you
we're
don't
not
use it, but
interested.
I'll send
You
We're
it.
not
lean into the
interested
curve
in
when it
your.
comes to issues of race. That race issues help you have is part of your identity because you want to be the antithesis.
No, I just
You are
wanted. I just wanted
contrarian.
you guys.
At your
Let me
heart,
share the screen.
you are a contrarian. That's your MO. You want to be a
I just
contrarian.
looked it up. I just Googled it. So let's see what it says. This is Reuters. Reuters.com says Harris pledges marijuana reform, defends record in Charlemagne interview. I don't know what you're talking about in terms of black men. She pledges to decriminalize marijuana if elected, and Harris questioned on past prosecution record, and Harris to appear next on Fox.
It's funny
Make
because
Joe Rogan.
it's very interesting. She's being held to such a higher standard when it comes to changing positions on things that typically politicians change positions on things all the time.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're politicians. And to say that as a prosecutor doing her job to enforce the law, and now all of a sudden she as a politician, she has the leeway to decriminalize or to not to pass laws that that can decriminalize these certain offenses. I mean, that's part of the evolution of being a politician in this country. You shouldn't be sitting there saying, look what Donald Trump has done. Donald Trump was a Democrat for most of his life. And now all of a sudden he's evolved, right?
Well, I don't think this is a question of her flip-flopping.
Right.
This is a question of what Keith wanted to say. She's going to make marijuana legal, and that's going to help the black boys. That's going to keep the black boys out of jail. And that's what he got from a white television station that he watches. It has nothing to do with race. Though I will say black people were prosecuted. There's a lot of echo going on. Black people were prosecuted more than white people when it came to drugs and the arrest of black people, supposedly war on drugs. Black people, and just like, for example, crack, you got more time in jail if you were found with crack than you got if you were found with cocaine. Why is that? Because blacks were doing crack because it was cheaper than cocaine, and more whites were doing cocaine, so they got less jail time, if you can believe that.
Look at the chat. I said I put it in there, Stacey. I guess I did. The article. Oh, Stacey's on mute, guys.
Let me share the article. Let me share the article that Keith put in there, and then we have to go.
I didn't want to do it publicly because I knew it would offend you guys.
This is from USA Today, and it says Harris outreach to black men includes proposals on marijuana and crypto business.
You would like that.
That's not an outreach. That's not an outreach to blacks. That's going to help whites, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, and every other race of people. Do you think white people smoke joint, Keith? Do you think white people smoke joint? Do you think white people are, first of all, cryptocurrency, I got into that because of white people. White people introduced me to crypto.
Okay, so if you look at this article, let me see if I can make this bigger. It says Harris's opportunity agenda for black men includes offering 1 million fully forgivable loans to black business owners and a new federal regulations for cryptocurrency to protect investors in the digital currency.
There you go,
Harris has
Aguna.
also proposed legalizing marijuana nationally for recreational use and ensuring black entrepreneurs have access to the growing cannabis industry.
Do you understand what she just said? Wait, before you go on, what she's saying is black people finishes my point. They were prosecuted more than white people for a minor marijuana charge. So they can't get in the business of selling legal marijuana.
That was
But
her that prosecuted him. She prosecuted him.
Okay, she's a lawyer. She's intelligent. Was Trump ever a lawyer or a doctor or anything? Oh, okay. So that was her job to prosecute the law. She was a lawyer. So she said that is not fair that these people cannot partake in selling legalized marijuana. That's not fair. So she's making it fair. That goes for white people that was in jail and black people that were in jail and Puerto Rican people that were in jail. It's like Keith is high. You're probably smoking crack yourself. I don't understand what's so funny. The bottom line is she's being fair with people that look like you and your mother.
He's deflecting right now, Todd. He doesn't care about your explanation. He just wants to throw something out there that you react to. He doesn't even believe it.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
All right,
Good night.
guys. Take it easy,
Coon.
guys. I love you.
Bye, Cooney. I mean, Keith.